Today on The Young and the Restless, Sharon and Phyllis relive their chocolate fountain fight. Billy senses something is off, and Audra tells Sally about Holden. Sally and Billy enter society and talk about how hard it was to leave Paris. They kiss and Sally spots Audra. They join her and she welcomes them home. They tell her they had a magical time. Billy has to go check on Phyllis, and Audra asks, what sort of trouble has she gotten herself into now? Billy says she's just gone radio silent for a little while. Sally gripes that it was a blessing since she called him 1,000 times. Billy says they have a lot of work to get done. Audra steps away to take a call and Billy kisses Sally. I'll see you later. Audra rejoins Sally and asks if they're getting serious. Sally isn't sure about that, but it's special. Audra wants to hear about Paris. Sally says that aside from Phyllis' interruptions, she had the best trip of her life. I'm happy. Audra says she deserves it after being burned by Adam. She asks how she feels about Billy racing out of there to track down Phyllis. Sally is no fan of Phyllis, but she and Billy click as work colleagues. Audra notes it hasn't always been successful. Sally says Bill told her Abbott Communications will be different. Talk turns to Audra and her friend says she just needs an opportunity. They discuss Billy no longer going after Victor. Audra would have liked to see the mustache go down for a change. Sally says Victor never loses and she's glad Billy realized that. She really wants this for Billy. If Phyllis is the necessary evil, then she can deal with it. Audra warns her the woman is a magnet for trouble. Sally asks how things are with Audra and Nate. She says, very solid, but there is a little drama with his newfound brother. She fills in her friend on Damien and Amy. It's heartbreaking to see her rejected by her son. Sally realizes that Amy really gets to Audra. She admits they've gotten close, and it's made her a little soft. Promise you won't laugh? The more time Nate and I spend with Amy, the more it's starting to feel like a little family. That's very new for me. Sometimes in the mornings, it's just the three of them together. Sally starts crying. It's beautiful hearing her talk about this. Audra hopes this will have a happy ending. Just then, Holden walks in. Sally watches him and Audra exchange a look. In the mental hospital, Sharon and Phyllis sleep together on the sofa. They're cuddling when an alarm goes off. Waking up, they jump apart and look dazed. Phyllis shuts off the alarm and says it's 7:00 a.m. She checks the phone and they're reset again. Sharon isn't surprised. Did she think the voice would let them call whoever they wanted? They bicker as Phyllis keeps calling the voice a weirdo. Sharon asks Phyllis if she thinks the person stayed there all night. Maybe they snuck in there while they were sleeping and turned the phones off. Phyllis complains that she needs coffee before answering questions. Suddenly, the coffee maker on the table starts brewing. Sharon laughs. Whatever this is, it's been well thought out and planned in advance. They want to know what happens next. What's the game today? Phyllis pours her coffee and Sharon worries it might be drugged. Phyllis says nothing could make this situation any more strange. She'll take her chances. Gulping it down, she sighs with happiness and offers Sharon some. She declines. Phyllis tells her to stop worrying about what's not happening and focus on what is happening. They'll never get out of here otherwise. Sharon just spent months under the influence without knowing it. Phyllis concedes that must have been rough. Sharon was just starting to feel normal again when this happened. Phyllis hands her coffee. Do you want milk or sugar? Sharon asks why she's suddenly being so civilized to her. Phyllis says their sniping has to end. The game is linked to their past together. Sharon snarks about her deciding to be a real human being. Phyllis tells her she has to meet her halfway or they'll never get out of this mess. Sharon agrees. It will be nice not to be the target of her hostility for a while. Phyllis will go back to how she was when they get out, but until then they cooperate. Sharon agrees. The loud buzzer blares and the voice asks if they're ready to play the game. They're ready and ask what's next. The cell phones make a notification sound. Sharon picks hers up and reads. I bubble and flow, dark and gooey, but there's acid behind the sweetness. Phyllis scoffs, so easy, the chocolate fountain. They go over the argument that ended in a chocolate slinging fight. Phyllis printed an article in Restless style about Sharon being a bad mother because she chose Adam over her children. Sharon scoffs that Phyllis has always been a saint. She then apologizes for pushing her into the fountain. It was childish and something she regrets. Phyllis realizes that she shouldn't have pulled her into the since then and laugh at smelling like a candy bar for weeks after that. Phyllis muses, maybe that's why we're here. To focus on all those trivial things they've done to each other and put the focus on the bigger picture. She asks Sharon if she's ever though about why they hate each other so much. Sharon thinks that's obvious. Nick. Phyllis nods. At Crimson Lights, Daniel and Nick compare notes on the phone calls from Sharon and Phyllis. Daniel is relieved. Now they know they're fine and there's nothing to worry about. Nick says, yeah. Daniel realizes he's not convinced. Nick says the whole scenario doesn't add up for him. He found it odd that Sharon didn't want to talk to Faith and Mariah. The girls went through hell recently and Sharon would know that if she were gone for even 10 minutes it would trigger them. Daniel muses that Phyllis only contacted Summer, not both of them. Nick finds it odd that they both went missing and then both called home at the same time. Daniel hopes Nick's just getting himself all wound up over nothing. Nick says it's too clean and convenient for him. They both chose to leave without saying goodbye to their loved ones at the same time, and both called on burner phones. He doesn't think it's good, not when it comes to these two. They agree to keep their suspicions to themselves. Daniel says Phyllis asked Summer to keep her trip quiet from Billy. Just then, Billy walks in and joins them. They chat about his new company. Billy is surprised Phyllis told Nick. He promises not to say anything and doesn't care that it will compete against Newman Media. Daniel thanks Billy again for the opportunity. He's glad he's on the team and hopes he'll make his mark. He asks if Daniel has heard from Phyllis. He needs to talk to her as soon as possible. Where the hell is she? Later, Nick arrives at the GCAC and leaves a message on Sharon's burner phone. He lets her know he's spoken to the girls, who would really love to hear from her. So would I. At Crimson Lights, Holden tells Sally that he and Audra are old friends from he's there for work, but Audra can fill her in on that. He talks up the breakfast burrito and Audra snaps that they were having a private conversation. Holden trots off to the bar. Sally asks her pal, what was that about? Audra tells her Holden is Damien's right-hand man. Sally thinks this is crazy given Audra has a connection to him. Audra says it gets crazier. He pretended to be Damien when he first came to town. She admits she didn't tell Nate at first. Sally suspects he's more than just an old friend. Audra shrugs, we dated a bit. She was just hoping he'd go away. She came clean with Nate, and he was gracious and understanding. Sally asks if she told Nate everything. Audra hedges, mostly. She admits it was more intense than just a couple of dates. She saw no reason to get into that with her boyfriend. Sally gets that, but you are going to have to fill me in. Sally asks Audra how she and Holden met. She says he helped her out of a jam with some pushy music industry people. What she didn't tell Nate was that they started seeing each other after that. They had some great times in the beginning. It was exciting, glamorous. Until it wasn't. Audra admits that things got a little intense, scary. Holden liked to live on the edge and kept pushing the boundaries until she had to cut things off with him. She wants him to go back to LA as soon as possible. Audra is happy and doesn't want to relive the past. She just wants to focus on the present with Nate. I don't want Holden messing that up. At the bar, Holden raises his cup to his ex. In the mental hospital, Sharon tells Phyllis that their whole feud started when she slept with Nick. Phyllis says that's ancient history. She walks over to the speaker and asks the voice why he's taking them on this bad trip down memory lane. Why do you want to watch this? They've been to hell and back together. But why does he want to watch this? Sharon hollers that they solved both his riddles. What's the point of playing the game if they're not allowed to win? The voice will consider a commensurate prize. Phyllis complains to Sharon that she probably just screwed things up for them. Sharon is outraged and points out Phyllis screamed at them too. She was just playing along. Phyllis gripes that she's a doormat. Sharon can't work with her. Phyllis tells her to stay in her lane and she'll stay in hers. May the smartest woman win. Phyllis smirks. Well, that's no contest. Sharon tells her not to be so sure. She's beaten her before.